welcome to our Candidates Forum. I'm just officially calling the meeting to order. My name's Tamara Dawson. For anybody who doesn't know me, I'm a member of the Hall Society, and I'm also the moderator of this forum. It's my first forum, so. I want to really thank everybody. Wow, we've got a great turnout, so thank you to everybody that's coming, and a big thank you to our candidates. And how wonderful that we have 4 candidates for this election. On behalf of the Hall, as well as all the residents of the village, thank you so much for putting your name forward. So we're going to start this forum with a short introduction with some rules, and then we'll get straight to hearing from our candidates, because that's what we're here for. So each candidate is going to have 4 minutes to introduce themselves. Cheryl, our Hall president, is today running our stopwatch. And as we get close to the time wrap up for each introduction, at 25 seconds, she's going to show a yellow flag. When your time is up, she's going to show a red flag. As soon as you see that red flag, wrap up your thought, and then we'll carry on. If the red flag's not addressed, I will halt the conversation, so you'll want to watch your time. After we go through everybody's introductions, we're going to move into a question and answer. So the questions are a combination of written questions that were submitted prior to the event as well. Everybody, I believe, has had access to the ability to write down a question. I don't know if we've got a lot of questions coming in, so I think that if you've got questions as we progress, pass them to the left, and then flag the person at the left can flag Andrea, and Andrea will bring the questions into me, and we'll sort them that way. From a question point of view, each candidate's going to have 2 minutes to answer the question in random order, so I've done a little bit of random ordering. One thing that I wanted to call out, if there's been a question asked and your answer is similar to your fellow candidates, you don't have to repeat word for word. You can say aligned with, so that way it'd be nice to get through as many questions as we can. And then at the very end of this forum, candidates will be given 2 minutes to summarize their platform, and we're expecting the forum to end at 9 p.m. 9 a.m. I can talk, but not that long. We did get a lot of questions, so over 30 questions, and we just don't have the time to go through each and every question. So what we've done is we've grouped all the questions into themes and tried to sort them so that we all get a good view of each candidate's stance on topics that seem to come up for the village. All right, let's begin. Paul, why don't you start with your introduction of yourself?
Sure. Thank you very much, Tamara. Hi, everybody. It's great to see such a big turnout today. That's awesome. My name is Paul Ashford. I live in Calgary, but have owned a place out here at White Sands for the last 20 years, building a cabin out here in 2004. It's been an amazing place to be part of for over so many years. Having my children grow up here from as far back as they can remember. And it's a lot of change that we've seen in the community over that time, and I'm sure a lot more to come. But throughout, it's always been such an amazing place that everybody here knows that. That's why everybody is a resident out here. But love to see it keep its nature, its feel. We're going to do inevitable continuing development in the area and the surrounding communities and RV park and all that sort of thing, and really felt that it's time to step up and throw my name into the hat to help to steer the direction as the growth continues in the area. A little bit about myself. I've lived in the city, but have always loved to be out in nature ever since was a kid, growing up in Ontario with my family. When I went into university, I went into engineering, but headed towards geological engineering and then specializing in geotechnical. Again, just because of the love of being outside, being in nature, finding a life that can combine those two different things. And then having the place out here really fits in as part of that. So as I said, I'm a professional engineer here in Alberta. I've worked in the oil and gas industry for my career, focusing on operational engineering side of the business. So working with the field, working with stakeholders, landowners, a lot of roles where I'm directly addressing things with some of the area residents and that sort of thing. And that gives me a strong base, I think, for a job like this, a role like this, where I can be able to relate to regulators. I can be able to relate to community members. I can be able to speak with members of other communities, of course, with the administration, and bring the technical depth as well that I think might be necessary for a lot of the problems that we're facing, to be able to understand some of these technical reports and help to find the best decisions through these questions. I know that this is a by-election cycle. It's only a year through the next election, which is a fairly short time. I think my priorities during this shortened term would be really helping to establish continuity with the groups. Understanding, building relationships with the regulators, with the government of Alberta, with the surrounding communities. And then, we've all seen, I think the village has been very well managed through the years, but, bringing a fresh set of eyes, making sure that spending is efficient. And I will stop there because I see a red flag, but thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Lockhart. Kind of grew up in this area. I went to school in Big Valley, grade 1, and then we moved to Stettler, and I graduated there. I tried mechanicing for a while, found out I didn't like it, so I became a water treatment plant operator at the town of Stettler in 1985, I believe it was. So I was there 5 years, worked with the town of Stettler, became a level 3 water treatment plant operator, which is, there's only one level higher. Then we had a couple kids and a couple of marital problems, and I moved to Banff. And when I left there in 2007, I was supervisor for water and wastewater and storm. I love living in Banff, but it's really hard to retire there. So I moved here, and I've lived here since 2009 permanently. Love it here. Got a few friends around, I believe, but so I know the municipal government, kind of how it works. I've got some contacts with the county of Stettler. I was there 14 years, something like that. Still got some contacts left there. I attended some Shirley McCollum regional water services, run the truck bill, run the water system. It's a big system. It's 103 kilometers long pipeline going all the way to Consort. I was a supervisor of that. So I went to some of the Shirley McCollum meetings, and there's from Consort all over Big Valley, Denelda. So they're fairly big meetings. Just attended them. I did attend a true-up meeting at the town of Stettler, and a true-up is where they decide how much the water is going to cost. So I was at that meeting. It was a big thing at the time, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty well the career. I retired 2 years ago. Yeah, I could go on a little bit more about family and stuff, but I don't think nobody needs to hear about that. I enjoy living out here. Go boating, fishing, skidooing. I have a side-by-side. So yeah, and the community's good. And like Paul kind of said, that time to do my share and yeah, do the best I can. I don't need no yellow flag.
Good evening, Mayor, former councillors, if there is any here, ladies and gentlemen, moderator. First of all, I want to thank those who serve on council and the committees. Your work is very important to this community. If you're like me, many of you have watched the council meetings and thought things could be done differently and done better. I've watched all of them except one and was present at a few before we went digital. So I've been here since about 2021. Watching has prompted me to run, though I am thoroughly enjoying my retirement. I have a wide range of experience that would prove very beneficial to the village. I bring a keen understanding of financial governance, and it is not, we need more money, let's raise taxes. My experience includes forensic bookkeeping, records research, budgets for business and condominiums, FDA knowledge transfer in labs in the United States, as well as commercial, technical, and government-related communication. I have sat on boards and committees throughout my life, starting at the young age of 16. Watching council deliberations has made me realize that decision-making, contracts, meeting records, i.e. the minutes, and budget perusal can be improved. This is not meant in disrespect for former council, as the job can be complex and continually needs new skill sets to work at its best. Council has done what it can, but now is the time for change. People would like to see more transparency and more information easily available to members of the community. I've been listening. A good way to think is we are shareholders in a large corporation called Summer Village of White Sands, and it needs to start running like a successful corporation. An ongoing overhaul of processes to facilitate the operation from council to on-the-ground maintenance would be beneficial. It is council's responsibility to make sure financial accountability is present and understandable. We need to intelligently trim our budget. We've had several years of tax increases with decreasing service levels. These hikes are not sustainable for many members of the community. We do not want people to face the future with fear. Many moved here to keep costs down. The bylaw revisions are also becoming too restrictive, making life unlivable in current village conditions. If we have a written vision for the community, crafted by the community, then we know where we're going and we can plan on how to get there. If we don't, then any road will get us nowhere. There are more emerging issues that innovative council could guide us through: septic access, lake water levels, taxation by outside municipalities, shore leases, boat launch maintenance, and surprise, what is the next problem? We, the community, really do know what is best for our lake, have the expertise living right here, and have it at our power to become leaders in stewardship of our area. Processes to guide us in our decision-making, succession planning, streamlining governance, using committees to assist council with decisions. And please, 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 watch the council meetings. This is how you know what is going on. So Justin Stevens and I have mulled over some of the issues facing our area, and I do have communication lines outside the village to both provincial and federal governments. I am not only asking for your vote, but will be asking for your service on committees to help us guide council. Please vote for Donna Marquardt as a council member for the community and by the community.
I'd like to thank the candidates for stepping up, and it's good to see the community level of interest. My name is Dan Zemble, and I've moved here with my wife, Debbie, in 2020 and permanently. And we have 2 children, 3 grandchildren, and many friends that enjoy this lake and visiting us. Born and raised on a farm in northern Alberta, and then lived in Edmonton, Victoria, and Calgary, and most recently in Calgary, and moved from Calgary. I think this position requires integrity, education experience, and community involvement, and I believe I possess those qualities. I have a Master's of Public Administration and an undergrad in psychology. I understand people, and I understand the admin process and the way that the interaction between the CAO and the staff and the council, or the government. I have over 30 years in business experience. I currently still do own a recycling company in Calgary, and sold Poly Ag Recycling in Bashaw, and still have Poly Lumber Recycling in Bashaw. So I still work part-time, about 3 days a week. My wife would say I work more than part-time, but I was I worked for the BC government as a business consultant prior to that, and between all my business experience and my education, I think I fully do understand the qualifications for the CAO and how to manage that position and manage this community. I was also worked for about 10 years as a material field inspector, so I understand civil projects, road building, and construction, and I was an inspector on those. And then I have been the past president of the Alberta Recycling Council, the director on the Alberta Recycling Management Authority, and vice president of Park 96, which was or is a facility, a community facility in Calgary. And I was with them for about 15 years. And I'm also currently on the Bashaw Chamber of Commerce. I do think we need to do some things, to make some changes. I do think that as well that this community is a great community to live in, and I enjoy most aspects of it, or all aspects of it, and I think we need to balance between preserving the natural aspect that people come out here for and enjoying the lake with some of the changes that need to occur, potentially improvements for helping better enjoyment of our facilities. I don't have all the answers, but I am good at getting the information, talking to people, making informed decisions, and then evaluating those decisions to determine whether we are on the right path. We do need to do some work on, our dust control and potholes and that type of work. That's always something, snow removal, playgrounds. And then, there's some bigger issues like the lake level and the boat launch and lifts and docks. Some of that can be addressed through some committee work. So I think we need to manage growth with the as-is and make informed decisions. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. So we're going to move into the question and answer period, but one thing that we're going to do from a video perspective, when you answer the question, can you stand up so that we can hear better? So we're going to go in different orders. So the first question up is Dan. The boat launch is an integral part of this community. A launch that withstands ice or is removable for the winter is long overdue. What research have you done, or how are you committed to this improvement?
That's a good question and an important one. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. Okay. Oh. Sorry,
Thanks.
standing up. Bob gave me this morning, Bob Green, and I read it today, cover to cover. It gives us several options. And I know some of the other communities are looking at the same challenges, and they can be anything from dredging, which is currently occurring, I think, in one of our neighborhoods, and also, I believe, some in Pelican Point. I don't know how, I don't know the exact topography of that particular area. I know we do have some deeper spots, and I don't know how long or how far that channel would need to be dredged. There is a possibility of an inland marina Again, there's some costs associated with that, some fairly significant ones. That is allowed under this plan and subsequent discussions. So I have done a little bit of that research, but I think more needs to be done. And part of that would be getting involved in the two committees that manage the lake, both the development and the water.
Excellent. Donna,
Well,
are you okay to stand?
takes me a little time to get up.
Thank you.
Yeah, the boat launch and the issues around it and dredging and whatnot, I would strike a committee and get the people who are most knowledgeable about this issue working on it so they can present something to council for council to decide on. We also need to be looking at grants. And I think that that has been lacking in terms of grant research and trying to find grants to look after this. And maybe even finding a commercial, as in, you know, how like some of the arenas get a name. Maybe we can find a company to put a name on the boat launch and provide some really serious funding for it, because I don't think the people in the community here can afford to shoulder that alone.
Excellent. Steve, you're next.
Hello, yes, I tried to use the boat launch this year, and I know it's very challenging for a regular boat. When I worked in municipalities, we did cross some wetlands, so I know what kind of environmental things they get drawn in, the federal government, Alberta government. And it's a tough sell. It's, you have to have all your needs and requirements. I know that it works better with the more people involved, Ocean Sands, White Sands, Bar W, Buffalo Sands. Anybody that's using that, you go this way to the Bar Harbor, all the way over to Boss Hill. So the more counties, municipalities you get involved in boat launches, the more easier it becomes. Yeah, I guess that's, like I say, it's a tough sell with the government. They don't like anybody touching the beaches and disturbing the fish or anything like that. So there's some hoops you have to jump through, but it can be done. I guess that's it.
Thanks. Paul?
That is an excellent question, and certainly the issues around the boat launch in the last couple of years have affected many of us. You know, I just know from following along with the repairs for the ice damage that was done, you know, the amount of consultation and in studies and input and approvals through Alberta Environment are very, very challenging. So I think there does have to be a realistic and pragmatic approach to how much can be done about that. You know, I think my approach would be I'd be very open to the possibilities, but also, you know, what is realistic for what can be achieved. Managing the boat launch so that it can be usable in different lake levels would obviously be very important. Having the capacity as the Bar W area gets more fully utilized, I would expect over the years, and much more traffic that's going to be down there, of understanding how to manage the parking, how to manage having enough capacity so people can get on and off the lake, especially we see what happens when the storms come up here and there's not a lot of protection on this side of the lake. It's all very challenging things. I don't have the answer on that. I certainly would be open and listening to the experts as they analyze it and come up with the possibilities and come up with something that can work for the long run.
Excellent, thanks. Okay, so this is on a similar path, and I think some of you have partially answered, so you don't need to answer, but it's also, I'm going to throw the question, because it was a question that came up to us on our website. understanding too that there are some things that you have to work with Alberta Environment. Many surrounding beaches do beach maintenance, yet in White Sands we don't. So what would your stance be on that? And we are going to start with Steve.
Well, I just saw a video yesterday of the old McDonald's using a bobcat on their beach, cleaning all the rocks off it. And if they can do that, that's, I'd like to talk to Kevin McDonald and find out how he got that by the government. And if it's, maybe it's not a harder thing as it's supposed to be. I guess if you're just cleaning the beach, maybe you're all right. Yeah, it's gonna be a challenge, but one person I left out was the County of Stellar, which actually fixed the boat launch last year at half of their cost. So they're another big player that you gotta get in. I'd like to see it expanded to three lanes, and the traffic as well, is the parking and it's, I don't think it should all be on White Sands dime because it's on in our land, but, yeah. I guess that's all I got.
Excellent. We'll go to Paul.
So I've got mixed feelings on this one. You know, it certainly having the beautiful sand and sandcastle competitions and kids using it is a great thing. At the same time, do have to be very mindful of, you know, any effects that clearing the sand or cleaning the sand might have on erosion. You know, a few years ago when our lake level was so high, you know, I know there was a lot of erosion happening along parts of it. In some cases, keeping some natural vegetation can act as a bit of a buffer on that. So I personally kind of like the balance that we've got on it right now, where we're doing limited amounts of clearing. I think we're quite fortunate that the way the winds blow across the lake, that it naturally cleans our waters and our shorelines a little bit. Again, I think I'd be open to discussing it, but I would lean a little bit more towards trying to keep things natural.
Thank you, Dan. Sorry, that's a lot of work with the microphone pass back.
My thoughts align quite closely with Paul's. I believe that the beach should be touched as little as possible. I don't think it should be raked personally, and I do like the fact that the maintenance were picking up piles of weeds and any debris, dead fish and stuff like that, but I don't think we need to rake it. I think we have a beautiful beach, and as far as for picking rocks on the beach, I don't think we want to do that either, because that would cause further erosion, I believe.
Excellent. Donna? If it's hard for you to stand, you can sit too.
That's okay. I agree with Dan.
Excellent. We're going to move to the next question. Donna, you'll be up first. With increasing traffic, what are your thoughts on how we improve the White Sands roads and the roads that lead to White Sands? And what are your thoughts on lobbying the county or the province for improved road surfaces, whether that be pavement or oiled? And also, if anybody needs me to repeat, if we've got 4 people, if you need me to repeat the question, just let me know.
Well, I've thought a lot about this, and I do know that there are grants out there that are available to do roads. And White Sands, we don't have a highway to ourselves. Most communities of our size have a highway. So I really think the provincial government needs to step up to the plate and give us a highway. Now, I know the county is working on something north of Bar W, but they seem to want to take our money and build that. And I think we need 404 to be done, because it does more for us to reach Camrose, Stettler, and areas east of here. And it would complement the Bar W traffic. But we need to look at grants. We need to be writing a lot of grants and to get the highways built. And we need to lobby, because when I worked for the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, they had lobbied for the Anthony Henday for years, and they finally got it. So, you know, these things don't get built just by wishing. There has to be some active pushing. That's my thoughts.
Excellent. Next up for that question is Steve.
Yeah, I know the roads seem like a problem, the washboard's a problem. The dust control, when it came in, it was, I believe it was supposed to be done every 2 years. Our street hasn't been done in 3 or 4. And Destiny Drive is actually a high-traffic area. So dust control, I can see we can do that in-house. I heard the original cost was $7,000. Doesn't seem like that much money to do dust control, at least that'll help. As for the road, the county road, and the White Sands Road going Bar Harbor and that way, RW I mean, in 2009, the county of Stettler had it in their budget to have Chinese pavement, like just a secondary pavement from Highway 56 to 835. And that's when the downturn in the economy went, and it got crossed off the budget, and it hasn't come back. But I know they put traffic counts on it, so it might just need a little more pushing from us, and even Roshan Sands probably would like to have it, because they cross over to go over to 56 when they're going east or north. Yeah, that's the roads are. I know the grader could be out more, but then you get the grader out more, then the roads are smoother, people drive faster. So you kind of got a two-edged sword kind of thing. All right.
Paul.
Largely, I'm aligned with the other candidates on this one. I do know that the road use agreement with Stettler County is one of the largest items on the White Sands budget, so I think that's something that really needs to be thought about as well. You know, if White Sands is driving towards pushing for paving of the roads or further upgrades of it, that will come with a lot of cost, and we can expect that at some point that we'd be paying into that as well. So mixed feelings on that. Certainly, you know, I've mentioned a few times a growth of the area is a reality, and I think at some point it will become enough traffic that it needs to be done. That whether we take the approach of being followers on that, may be more fiscally prudent though. So lots of interesting things to think about.
Excellent. Thanks, Dan.
I agree with the other candidates as well. I think, I believe dust control was supposed to be every 2 years, and I think that's works quite well. I think we can train some of our maintenance staff to blade the roads a little better, or at least some pothole maintenance throughout the summer would be worthwhile. I don't think that pavement to the village is going to happen in the short term. I think it's an unrealistic expectation. I think it's worth pushing. Obviously, it would be nice to have that. I just don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But I think we can do a somewhat better job on the roads internally.
Excellent. I didn't really mean to make you dance. I didn't know you guys were going to be sharing a microphone, so I'm going to make you dance because it's back to Paul. So, Paul, there's been a little bit of touch. Yeah. It's going to switch up again. So there's been a little bit of comments on this, and not by all candidates. So if you've already mentioned it, then don't worry, but there is another part to this question. So one of the questions that came in is, what is your commitment to dust control? And what are your thoughts on speed bumps?
I think I might say no comment on the speed bumps one, but dust control, I think, as has been mentioned, it's relatively inexpensive and it makes a huge difference. I think what we can do within regulatory frameworks for doing that is great. The speed bumps, I hate them, but I think they're a necessary evil, and I think for certainly making sure that traffic does go 30 kilometers an hour through here, it's a necessary evil. Be nice to find something that works a little bit better on the gravel roads, but I guess we can see where it goes from there.
Excellent, thanks. I'm going to do it again, Dan. It was random.
So it was, sorry.
Okay, sorry. What the question is, what is your commitment to dust control, and what are your thoughts on speed bumps?
So I believe dust control every 2 years works, but I do think that there may be some, you might need to do a touch-up job on some of the areas. As far as speed bumps and speed, there is something called speed humps, and they are way easier on your vehicle, and they still work for 30 kilometers an hour. And what they are is they're quite a larger hump, and you do see them. I believe there's 1 or 2 in Roshan. I know they exist because I've installed them, and they can be made portable, I believe, as well. I've seen them. Like, we could get some. I think more research needs to be done on that. If you go more than 30 kilometers, you do get a little airborne. If you hit it at 30 kilometers, it's a nice gentle bump and it doesn't hammer you up. So I think there are other options to reduce traffic speeds.
Excellent, Donna.
But they are important.
Thank you. Donna?
I agree with Dan on the speed bumps. Dust control, I've run into it this year because it's been so dry. And all you need to do is get some water put on the road for the high traffic times on the weekends. And there's been a couple times when I was helping a friend at the four-way stop, and we had to go out and put water on the road ourselves with a sprinkler. And it's a shame that the maintenance did not do that, because it would have been so much easier for them to do this by hauling water and just spreading it in the high traffic area, which is the four-way stop and then towards the dump.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah, I understand speed bumps are control, slow people down, but they are a pain, especially if you're pulling the boat over to the boat launch. The boats bounce on the trailers. And, what can you do, though? People will speed if you don't have them. I already talked about the dust control every 2 years. But another factor you could do is you could do traffic counts and find out where the traffic is moving. Like, I think Destiny Drive is one of the main arteries. Jennifer, obviously. The ones coming into Old White Sands, but as soon as it starts branching off, I don't know if the traffic's all that terrible, and that's probably why there's no speed bumps there. I'm sure that past councils have tried to work with this, and there's not an easy answer.
Thanks, Dan. Oh, sorry, whoop. Okay, so sorry. It's still Steve, you gotta stand. Okay, question number 5. What would be your long-term vision for our community and its residents? Do you support growth in the summer village of White Sand, and what does that growth look like to you?
I support growth, and we are already bigger than Roshan Sands. And Roshan Sands has been around since the 60s. If things keep selling, we are going to get bigger, and we're going to have to figure a way of managing it. What was the rest of the question?
What is your long-term vision for our community and its residents? Do you support growth, and what, in your opinion, what does that growth look like?
I think growth should be limited. Like, I know the town of Banff actually limited their population at 8,000 people for years. just because you start overwhelming your beaches and your roads and traffic and, like I say, it just needs managed and not let overtake the systems and that are in place. I think there's not much you can do to stop it. Developers like making money, like selling land, and this is a beautiful place to live, so things are gonna sell. You just put policies and bylaws in place, hopefully, that can manage them.
Excellent. Dan?
Yes, vision, long-term vision would be to balance both the natural, the reason we all live out here, or all come out here, is the beauty of it and the natural way it is, with a very managed growth. I think that I would not like to see a Pigeon Lake or a Sylvan Lake. Those types of crowds are not what we want, I think, here. But I don't think it would ever get that big anyway, because there's only a certain amount of lots here. In our village, we don't have a lot of control outside that, other than the plans that are already put forward. So managed growth cautiously.
Excellent. Donna?
I align with Dan on much of this. I think that we need to have a long-term vision, and we need to set up, as I said in my introduction speech, we need to set up a vision made by the community, for the community. And I would, have a committee struck to do that, so that we get it right and we know where we're going and we can plan for how to get there.
Excellent. Thanks, Paul.
Sorry. So I remember a few years ago when all the uproar was around about the Paradise Shores development that was thrust upon the area, and a lot of people quite upset and concerned about the scale of the development of that. And I know at the time, I think it's called the Buffalo Lake South Shore Intermunicipal Development Plan, if I got all that right. I read through that and really tried to get an understanding of, what is the overall vision that has been established over many years with the surrounding communities. And I bought out here because I love the nature of it. It's not like Sylvan Lake, like we said. But when you look at the plan, like over the next 30, 40 years, pretty much the whole area between here and Roshan Sands, this side of the road, is slated and approved for development. And that is a reality. Much as we'd like to say we'd like to be in a time capsule and not develop, it is coming. What I would favor, though, is continued low-density recreational development, trying to maintain as much of the rural nature that we enjoy here so much. Keep that. You can never say it can't be done, and as Dan mentioned, we have limited control over what happens out of it. But what I would be very much interested in doing if I were elected would be to be an active voice on the intermunicipal committees to have a say and reflect our interests there.
Excellent. Thank you. Paul, the next question is also you.
Okay, perfect.
So there are many different people in the village with various degrees of knowledge on all types of topics. Do you think that council decisions should be made by council only? Or do you support a type of community input program where there are subcommittees to address various issues, including bylaws and significant projects?
Yes, very much so. I'm very much aligned with anybody that's interested in the community and being involved in things to do that. I think certain decisions, are within the mandate of council to make, but other things we do need to take out to the community, whether it's in a referendum or at least getting feedback on it. As council, I'd be representing the community. It's not about me going in there and saying what I think is best and that's it because I was elected. It really is hearing and understanding it, and so I think that there needs to be that opportunity for feedback and or further involvement from the community.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of knowledge in this community. A lot of people are retired. A lot of our communities are second, they have 2 homes, so they obviously are done well in their lives. So if we can use their knowledge, and that's a big part of subcommittees, and they can take a committee and run with it, and it would take load off this committee, this counseling. Anyways, I think the way the community's going right now is already improved in the last few years. Like the gate that used to separate white sand, the old white sands and new white sands has been taken down. There was fear of it for a while, but I think it's turned out the traffic hasn't increased that much on the lake front street or the lake shore drive there. And I think that some of that came from the community. So yeah, if you have a way of doing it, get in a subcommittee and be part of the answer.
Excellent. Dan?
I'm going to say something a little controversial here. I think that communication is very important and getting that information. I've worked on a lot of organizations that have subcommittees, and if they are ad hoc focused on one item and it's dealt with and finished and the committee finishes, I think they can be useful. But committees just to be committees, we all lead lives that are busy enjoying ourselves, and I'm not sure we need to set up another level of bureaucracy. I think we can get that information from talking to people. We're a small enough community that most of us can talk or communicate through the various social medias and such. But I would like to, I think that it is important to gather information on topics, and possibly if it's needed, we could look at, but I would not be in favor of a bunch of committees or subcommittees.
Thank you.
Well, if you've read my platform and you've heard me speak, I am in favor of using committees. I know the County of Stettler does. They have a committee that decided to close the road on Bayview. That was one of their decisions. And they've worked on the pavement going north. And I think that if we get a committee, it would have to be guided. You'd have to sit there and say, okay, this is the parameters of the committee that you want, and this is what we were working on. And if we need to strike another committee, I mean, we have our Hall Society that I think has been underutilized in terms of working on the appearance of our community. And I think that we can just strike a committee for specific purposes, as Dan has mentioned, and release it and let people have their fun. But I do think we do need at least one committee to oversee what's going on with our bylaws and budgets full-time.
Excellent. Thank you. Donna, you're up next again. Donna. What is your stance on golf carts in the village, and any thoughts on how we can keep our village safe from problems related to golf carts or other ATVs?
Well, I don't know if people have read the Lacombe County golf cart bylaw. But when it was mentioned on a council meeting, I went and looked at it and read it. And they have quite a few rules around the use of golf carts, one of them being that you need an operator's license. And I think that if that is what the community decides, then that's going to be definitely a more responsible way. But we have to look at the effect of allowing this to happen in our community, on our insurance rates, on how much policing we're going to have to do, and I think we have to factor that into the cost of people who want to license their golf cart for use in our community. Now, if we have outside people, like say from Bar W, that want to drive on our roads, I think that we have to increase the cost for the placard that says they can use our roads, to account for the fact that some of this is taxpayer based in terms of funding.
Thanks, Paul.
I agree largely with Donna's statements. Certainly, in the past, to have it be prohibited but looking the other way is not a good solution. It is opening up the town for liability if the unthinkable happens and somebody gets hurt or killed. It's a problem that's not going to go away otherwise. I think the pilot that Lacombe County is doing is really fascinating. I do like the idea of controlling it through operator's license and a registration system. And I believe there's also a stipulation of no more than on the cart than the capacity is of it. I think looking towards a trial of that ourselves is probably the best long-term solution.
Excellent, thanks. Steve?
Yes, I've also looked at the County of Lacombe. That's a good, let them invent the wheel. There's no sense us paying for lawyers and stuff like that. Roshan Sands, I've talked to the mayor of Roshan Sands, Blaine, and they want to have the same kind of system. They're going to see how it works out for the county. They're a little bit different because they got a provincial highway going through their village. But as for the people driving them, I would rather see somebody in a golf cart than somebody in a $4,000 pound truck driving around with kids in the back of it. At least a golf cart can only go 30 kilometers an hour. If it does get in an accident, it's not a good thing, but you got a truckload of kids all in the back with tubes and who knows what else they got in the back there. That's not a good thing either.
Thanks. Dan?
I agree with the rest of the candidates, with the exception of, I believe was it operator's license or driver's license? I think that whoever's operating a golf cart would have to understand the rules of the road, and I don't think an 11-year-old does. And I think that, they would have to, a learner's permit or a driver's permit, however that level is, I think that is necessary to operate a golf cart in the village. Mostly for liability. If somebody gets hurt that's underage and we have said, oh, that's okay, you can drive those in the village, and we haven't put any restrictions on them understanding the rules of the road, we could be liable.
You can still keep standing. When you think about communication between council and residents, is there anything you would change, and how would you change communication?
Boy, that's a tough one. Open communication is always good. I think the biggest thing that's challenged us in the last year has been the fact that we don't have our meetings here, we don't have our office here. I think that would be the biggest thing I would change or speed up, or I don't know if that's possible at this point, but the sooner we get an office in here and we get the meetings back into White Sands, where we can have a little bit more communication and more control over some of our maintenance and such, the better.
Excellent. Thanks, Donna.
I guess I'm going to pound the committee thing again, because if we have people who are interested in certain areas, not everybody's interested in the boat launch, not everybody's is interested in beach maintenance or Jack's Pond or the roads or, various portions that make up our community. I think committees of people that are interested and are knowledgeable in these areas are a really good use of the people in the community and their concerns. And they have to come back to council for decisions, because while they might do the research and present council with a full précis of what they've discovered, it still is council's decision to pass or make a bylaw or allow something to happen. So that's my view of things.
Excellent, thanks. Paul's next.
I know for myself, I can say that I've always appreciated over the years that the regular updates that come out from Mayor Lauren and others with what's happening, what's new development, some of the issues that are being tackled. And so I think continuing with that is a very important piece of it. I think having the office that's going to be set up right outside here in the community will increase the visibility, and having the meetings that are more easy for residents to drop in on. Of course, in this digital age of being able to record everything and have it available for people either to watch live or to go back in and see the results of the meeting is very important for transparency. Just as a side on that, I know I've watched some of the recordings of council meetings. Some of them very easy to listen to. Some of them, the audio has not been good on that. So, making sure that the quality is there so that it's not a painful process for people to do on it, and maybe have it set up so that, you can have hyperstreams to key points of it if somebody wants to just see one particular discussion as opposed to sitting through the whole council meeting. I think there are things like that can be done to allow people to participate and follow along easier.
Excellent, thanks, Steve.
I think it's the councillor's job to read the pulse of the community. I don't know if we need that much change. The system's been working well for 40 years or whatever. I don't believe in changing things just because you need to change. You think you need to change. And for subcommittees, I can see important stuff that people are really like to see fixed or changed. Yeah, I have a subcommittee, but I don't believe in having a subcommittee for every time somebody wants to change an outhouse out here or something. That's what council's for, is making decisions, and you vote for the person that's going to make that decision, and if you're not happy, you vote them out next go around.
Excellent. So Dan, you're up next. If you were elected, what is your onboarding plan to ensure that you are up to date on intergovernmental relations and everything else that would be related to your role?
Well, I do know that there's a requirement. There's a training period that's required, plus the reading that's required. I think it's a provincial mandate now. Plus, I spent 7 years getting a master's degree in communication and policy and an understanding of how governance works. So I think I can actually assist in some of that. But yeah, I don't know the inner workings of some of the summer villages. I know there's a different set of rules for summer villages for a lot of things, and smaller towns as well. And so I would need to get up to speed on that aspect of it for sure.
Excellent. Donna?
Well, interestingly enough, when I moved here to White Sands, I was going like, what is this IDP and all these other alphabet soup organizations, so I started reading about them. And then I started asking questions, and I've been talking with Justin Stevens off and on about various issues, which really helped because I got a different viewpoint, and I've been talking to local members here. I know that there are courses that you can take, and there's a lot of reading, a ton of reading. And I also am very curious about how things are working and stuff, and I have taken lots of management courses throughout my life in terms of lab management. Even though I didn't manage a lab, I used those tools to manage the area I was working in. I've also seen how the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce works because I was there for 5 years and I was an account executive. And my job was to convince people to join. And that you have to show people. Large businesses was my specialty, oil field companies and whatnot. And even smaller businesses, and I would always introduce a business to another business if I thought that they could have some synergy together. So this is the kind of thing I would bring to the position. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you, Steve.
Can you go
Yeah,
over that?
absolutely. If you were elected, what is your onboarding plan to ensure you're up to date on intergovernmental relations and everything else that would be related to the role?
Well, if I'm elected, whatever committees that, I know there's 5 or 6 committees that the council has to share in, like the ambulance committee, and that you're connected with the counties and all the other governments around. I've worked on the Municipal Government Act for 37 years, so I kind of know how it works, how government rolls, and government moves slowly, usually. And one thing I think people, whether I'm elected as a councillor or not, but everybody here should understand is council has one employee, and that's a CAO, and she manages the other employees. So the council has one employee. So we can't go up to our guy doing the streets and start telling him what to do, because that's covered by the Municipal Government Act, and that's not allowed.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul.
I have no doubt that there will be a lot to learn, a lot to read, a lot to understand about how things work in this role, how things work in a position like this. My approach is to come in with an open mind, ask a lot of questions, not presume to know the answer, and to ensure that I'm not forced into making a decision before I fully understand everything that is in front of me. I think that is one thing that is fortunate in a case like this, where it's a by-election, is that there's not 3 new people coming in all at the same time saying, okay, what do we do now? So I think a lot of it is really drawing on the wisdom of Lauren, who will be there for continuity in the coming months, of understanding how things work and taking a slow and measured approach. But I think all of us here would be new in the position. We'd all be facing the same challenges, and just an assurance that I'll do it as responsibly as I can to get through the learning curve.
Excellent. Thank you. Next question is, we'll start with Steve. And do you have any thoughts on how we can reduce taxes or improve services?
To reduce taxes, that's a tough one. I think it's been pretty streamlined already. Off the top of my head, I can't see anything that's going to lower taxes, unfortunately. What was the second part of it?
So on how we can reduce taxes or increase services? Basically do you have any thoughts on getting more value for the dollar?
No, not off the top of my head. I think, like I say, the previous council has is, I think it's very budget-wise. They've been watching the budget. They're not, haven't done any excesses. They work with grants when they can, and that's the only thing I can do is follow what they've done with grants, and if an opportunity comes up, well, keep your eyes open, be ready for an opportunity that does come up to make services easier.
Excellent. Yeah, Paul is next.
Well, as I had mentioned on my platform, one of the things I would want to look at in the near future is understanding of the spending and the efficiencies and look at how it's been done. I think past council and past administration have done a great job, but you always see something with a fresh set of eyes when you come in there and look at things from a different way and look at how it's been done. I think one of the most obvious things is, we did have administration combined with Roshan Sands for a few years. I think that was a little bit too much for the administration to manage that. Now we've separated that again. But I do think that there are, while there are a lot of unique things for White Sands, there are a lot of commonalities between the different communities too. So maybe looking at ways that there can be some collaboration with the surrounding communities on particular things. Everything from just maybe combining some of the contractors and services that come in so that the same services are hitting both communities one after another, as opposed to doing that in isolation. Maybe that stuff has already been done, but those are some of the ideas that I'd want to look at when I came in.
Excellent. Dan?
I think Paul and Steve answered this very well, and I agree with both of them. The only minor thing that I could see is potentially reducing maintenance staff over the winter from, I believe it's 2 people to 1. I don't know if there's a lot to do when the snow's not flying, but that's a small thing, and I think for the most part the past councils have kept it fairly tight, and it's always good to attempt to reduce taxes and attempt to, I wouldn't necessarily increase services, but possibly improve services.
Excellent. Thank you. Donna?
Well, this is pretty easy to answer. I line with Dan on that. I do think that there could be some efficiencies found. There always is. But, yeah, I align with Dan.
Excellent. Thank you. Maybe just a question. So does anybody have any questions that you want to send to the front? So please know that that's an option. Okay. So let's go, Donna, again. So when you think about RVs and construction, do you believe that White Sands needs more bylaws and tighter restrictions, fewer bylaws and more freedom, or keeping everything the same?
Well, I'm not so sure we need more bylaws. I think that there are some bylaws that need to be looked at. Fencing bylaw, it's not useful when we have deer eating all our trees and people want to grow trees. And you can't grow trees when deer are eating them. And you're saying as far as RVs, I think we really need to take a deep dive into these rules and see what the reason is for them, if there is room to maybe allow coverers over decks, things like that, because some of the rules just don't seem to make sense.
Steve? I can repeat the question if...
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you, Tamara.
It's a bigger question. So related to RVs and like building construction, do you believe that White Sands needs more bylaws and tighter restrictions, fewer bylaws and more freedom, or keeping it the same as we are now?
I think the system we have is pretty good. I just think it needs to be kept an eye on a little bit more. I think some cabins have slipped through the cracks that really don't look like a cabin or a house. But I think that with if you utilize the the town of Stettler's planning commission, the planning department, maybe on a contract basis, maybe every time there is one, you send it to them and make sure nothing's missed. I believe it's kind of set up that way now, but if it isn't, that's a good, helpful use, because I know at my house, I had to go through the town of Stettler planning department. And, yeah, that's for RVs. Somebody that builds an RV, sooner or later, they're gonna like it out here and they're gonna build a cabin, which will increase the tax base, which would put more money in the bank. That's what I forgot about with the other question. That's how you could get more money, is more homes, more taxes.
Excellent, thanks. I know there's another question running in, but we'll go, Dan, we'll throw that question to you, and then I didn't do good air traffic control.
I would probably be in favor of leaving it close to as is. There's some refreshment. I like the variety of dwellings in White Sands. I think it's what keeps it as a summer village. We have some, Four Seasons homes, and we have some RVs, and I don't think I've seen too many tents out there, but on empty lots. But I do like the variety, and I think I dislike the chicken coop and look of some of the places in Calgary and Edmonton, and I think that that's important. I do think that there's we are losing some revenues, but I've seen, motor homes and unused lots, new houses coming on them, so I think, they're maybe not currently paying their fair share of taxes, but I think that that's something that is coming as people become more involved and have, in improving their dwellings.
Excellent, thanks. Donna, sorry, did you answer? Oh,
Yeah, I think I did.
I think, yeah,
My bad.
thank you. Okay.
Oh, Paul has it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
That's all right. I think overall, the bylaws and the nature of the bylaws as they are right now are good. I am in favor of limiting the amount of time that an RV can be on the lot. I would much rather see it be developed than indefinite time for the RVs on there. I know a few years ago there was a round of updates and modifications to the bylaws. I think going and doing a check-in on how does that work, how is that working, or what are the issues, are there any unintended consequences of those bylaws, and doing an adjustment is always important, but I certainly wouldn't want to blow things up and completely change the nature. I think we've got it pretty good right now.
Excellent, thank you. All right, next question, we'll start with Dan again. This is a longer one. Grants for energy efficiency issues were available in 2023, including solar panels, EV charging, etc. Do you feel that these types of, when it comes to all the grants that are available, do you feel that it's council's role to be informing our community about all the grant options?
I think it's important that council look into them actively. I think we're missing out. There are a lot of municipal grants that we may or may not, whether it be infrastructure or in this case, the greening of the community. I don't know there might be some solar, there might be, those things are important, but you've got to get way ahead of that, because a lot of that, by the time you learn about it, it's almost filled up and it's too late. So yes, I would be in favor of that. What was the second part of that question?
Just what's your stance and communicating out to the residents about grants?
Yeah, I think a lot of, that is one of the things we don't hear a lot about. We hear that we've got a lot of grant money, but that's from years ago when it was on the books for so long. But I don't know what we've been applying for or looking into over the last little while. So I think we need to do a better job of that. And in some cases, the community might know it ahead of the rest of us.
Donna?
Yes, I think we missed the boat on the grants for the EV chargers because we could be making money from that. And that's something that we really missed out on. Also, the use of solar, I mean, we do have a lot of land that we could be putting solar on. And there's even plans that show solar on lakes. So I think that we need to look at the grants, and there was over 25 listed on the site for the provincial government for grants that were available to communities. Now, maybe not all of them applied to White Sands, but I mean, I just looked, a month ago, and there was a list of 25 of them. So we really are missing out, and we need to keep our eyes open for stuff like that.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul.
Well, as much as I applaud the idea of taking advantage of, as individuals, some of the grants that are out there and some of the incentives for energy efficiency and renewables, I kind of feel that I don't really know if that's really within the areas of responsibility and focus for what council should be doing. I think that there are probably other areas that are more within our mandate to focus on, and educating the residents of different provincial or federal grants. I don't really see as really what our role will be. So maybe that can come from some other source. But I think that would be more of a distraction for council myself.
Excellent, thanks. So we are, I'm going to finish. I keep on doing that. Steve, I have your name written down. I'm sorry.
You want me to?
No, please.
Council roles with grants, I understand Melissa's pretty good with them. And I applaud her for that. There's dollars out there. The only thing about a grant is, I'll use the hamlet of Erskine. The county of Stettler applied for a water distribution system more or less on a whim. The federal government was funding distribution systems for small communities like that. The county of Stettler applied for it and got it. And so they put in 1 million and the federal government put in 4 or 5 million, and Erskine has fire hydrants at the end of every block because of that. So what I believe what the White Sands should do is have a little kitty and apply for a grant and make sure we have money in the bank. So if we get a grant and they want us to put down 10% and they pay the 90, we're ready to go. These grants just kind of, they're a little bit unpredictable. One on my platform is going to be the beautification grants. I know the town of Banff got beautification grants all the time. Making a park, cleaning it up, like Jack's Pond, cleaning it up, make it more of a, not just a slough, more or less. And as for our council role, I believe for the iPhones and the web pages, I think just utilize that and you can communicate with the people. Everybody has an iPhone now. Everybody has a laptop, computer. And just keep it updated and put information on there as it comes through.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Donna, so we are working towards some of the end. We've got a few more questions to go through, but we are working towards the end, and I'm going to think that we're going to end a little bit early. Donna, you're up next. If you are elected, how will you try and fix the problem of sewage disposal? And do you think there's a problem?
Well, since we pay for it, there is a problem because our costs have increased, even in spite of the road agreement that we've had with the county of Stettler, because they still have to ship it all the way to Bashaw, or there is another, I guess there's a farmer that will take some of it too. I know that in watching the council meetings, they showed a system that would take the sewage and turn it into water. And that water is pure enough to drink, but we could put it in the lake. Now, that's kind of like two solutions for a problem, although it's probably pretty expensive, but the provincial government just might be interested in funding that. So there is things out there that we can look at.
Excellent. Thank you, Donna. Paul?
Heard that Buffalo View Estates, just to the east of us, where they've got the community septic solutions systems there, has been extremely expensive and problematic to do. So I think, when you look at the long term, putting in something like a community system, I don't think is something that would be feasible to do in terms of making sure that we're staying on top of managing costs and ensuring compliance. I think, again, looking at the road use agreements, looking at the agreements and the capacity that are at the Red Willow, I think is the name, if I'm not mistaken. I may have that wrong. Lagoon, where there's been issues with them having the capacity or accepting. I think that's something that council can work on, ensuring that there is reasonable paths to get the sewage treated. And, again, making sure that it's important that staying on top of compliance of issues to make sure that, there's not improper outhouses out there or, hopefully not people punching holes in the bottom of tanks or something like that, but, making sure that we've got workable agreements and systems so that we're not running into issues like that and being on top of it if there are any cases like that.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve.
Well, I've worked in sewer systems since about like 1990 onwards. Grants are easier to get for sewage systems because everybody wants to be taken care of properly. You don't want it going in the lake or somebody else's property. So it's not such a job to get a grant for sewage. I looked after two small communities, Bymar and Indiang. One has a population of 50 people and the other one has a population of 75. They have a water distribution system and a wastewater collection system. And it's been there a long time. And I believe the county got the Bymar one through a grant, mostly. We do have a problem. Bymar and Indiang, it's flat. Here we have hills and valleys, which make it a little more tougher to work. But what they have in Indiang is you have a pump in your septic tank, and it goes out to the main, and it just pushes it out. Everybody pushes it, and away it goes. Buffalo Sands has one. I operated that system, and it was expensive because they build the water through the sewer, so how much water you use, how much sewer you use, which is fair. The main problem I would try to solve is the County of Stettler road bans. I believe there was a problem between White Sands and County of Stettler, and they put a road ban and they held it on our road out here for months after road bans were taken off everywhere else in the county because it got into a pissing match over stuff. And the communications got to improve there. They're a big place. The County of Stettler's 75 miles across it at one point. And I don't think we should be asking them, please, be reasonable with these road bans so that the truckers don't have to charge us as much to haul, at least until we get some time in the future, and then maybe the next 20 years, it might be a while. But I don't think we should be paying extra for hauling sewage on the road because the road ban's on it for no real reason.
Excellent, thanks, Dan.
I think an internal system would be too expensive, being that we're, three-quarters or more than two-thirds developed. But I would be interested to find out whether there would be any other communities that would be interested in a cost sharing for a lagoon outside of our area, possibly in a farmer's, an undeveloped area. I think the cost of that, you'd still have to pay hauling, but the hauling distance could be cut down considerably. I think in the winter, when the local options aren't available, they do have to haul it all the way to Bashaw. So I think we could look at, enhancing either current systems or closer systems, or doing some cost sharing there rather than trying to design our own internal. Yes, I would like to be able to flush the toilet and it go somewhere else, not have to do the pump outs, but I think that's the reality of where we're at this time.
Excellent, thank you. Excellent, this next question, it's going back to grants, and we'll start with Paul. Grants take time to process. Of the many grants available, how would you determine which ones were a priority for White Sands?
That's a tough one for me to answer. I think really it would come back to, again, making sure that coming in green to the role that I do understand what is out there and work to understand it and set the priorities at that point. Coming from a business side of a perspective, one of the things that I've always complained about is just the idea of, you get all this money and you have to spend it, and if you don't, you use it or lose it, and you hear that with government things. That is a reality of that's the way the system works, and so you need to ask for it to get the grant, you need to spend the money to do it, but just really making sure that the money that we are asking for and the money that we are spending is really adding value and not just churning through grant dollars for the sake of churning through grant dollars is something that would be something that I would endeavor to make sure that we're doing.
Excellent, thank you, Steve.
I spoke about grants earlier. And when I said to put money in the bank, I don't mean raise taxes. What I mean is that White Sands has some lots that are sitting empty with no houses on them. You're not making any revenue off them. Maybe you sell those lots, put the money in a grant bank account, and then when a grant comes available, the money's there to be used instead of an empty lot, not making us any money.
Excellent, Dan.
I agree with Paul in that we don't need to chase grants for the sake of chasing grants. There's always lots of subsidies and grants out there, and if your priorities don't align with them, you can spend a lot of time and effort grant writing and then trying to fulfill the mandate of the grant as opposed to looking into your own priorities. So I think it's more important to look at the priorities of what we see as a summer village, and then look at whether there's any grants available to fulfill some of those priorities.
Excellent, thank you, Donna.
Well, the experience that I had in looking at the grants, I narrowed the 25 grants that were available through the municipal website, and I know there's other grants out there, is to narrow it down to ones that are available for summer villages plus, because some of them are very specific. And then to narrow it down to ones that are useful to us. And our vision statement, which we have yet to have written down, needs to be helps us focus on what our community needs are, so then we can narrow down the candidates for writing grants even further. And in that way, we would be very efficient in our grant writing and requests. The other thing that, sometimes you can go for corporate grants. And I think that's something that, as a summer village and a recreation area, that maybe we should start looking at. I mean, as a Edmonton Chamber of Commerce account executive, I went out there and I got free books from Indigo to give away at our breakfast club meetings. And that really did help create interest in going to the meetings. So there are ways out there to do things a little differently.
I'm going to hit this question one more time. And just word it and get it to go a little bit faster. So the question is, how do you decide what grants to work on? So I think that probably, why don't we go back through the table? Let's start, Dan, and talk about priorities for grants. Like, where are your priorities related to what do you think is worth the time to look for grants on?
That's a tough one. Boat launch. I mean, that's what a lot of people have moved out to the lake for, is the boat launch. I think anything that enhances the community and the community involvement, and I don't think there's anything specific that, other than that. I mean, we need an office here. Whether we need a hall or not, that's up for debate in the future, but that's the only one I have.
Excellent. Donna, do you want to prioritize?
Well, again, I really think that we're kind of spinning our wheels unless we know and have a vision for where our community is going to be going and what we're going to need.
Excellent. Paul?
I think I'd echo Dan on a couple of points and what Donna just said there as well. Boat launch, protection of shoreline issues and environmental reserve erosion that we have had previously. I think Dan said a few minutes ago, just we need to set our own priorities first and then find the grants that are aligned with that, rather than going the other way around and perhaps spending our efforts chasing funds that don't necessarily get us towards our vision for the community.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so let's, oh, I keep on doing that. I have a couple jobs, you know.
This is my first
I am so sorry. I know. I think, Steve, I've done it to you twice.
I've talked about grants already. The priority, see, for a grant, I was in a meeting with the CAO was there, and Pat Boland was there, and talked about volunteer fire department. And Pat Boland was going to give up the land to put a fire department right across from where the Truckville is in Roshan Sands, just this side of Roshan Sands, the county-owned land there. And they tossed the idea around. So there's a possibility there that we could get fire protection. I know the fire chief, I was talking to him one day and he said, this is the only place he worries the most about in the county of Stettler for fire. Because farmers don't have campfires every night. Farmers don't get drinking and have a campfire. We've already had fires here with 20-minute drive. So if there's, and that's another thing that it's just like sewage, fire, there's things that the government will support you a lot easier if it means saving lives or saving the environment or saving homes.
Excellent, thank you. Steve, you'll go first. What are your opinions of going from 3 counselors to 5 counselors?
I don't agree with that. The town of Banff with 8,000 people has 6 counselors and a mayor. 8,000 people. We have 300. I think the way the system is right now can handle 300 people worth of attention in our community.
Excellent, thanks, Paul.
I agree. I see no inclination to change that. Obviously, I haven't been in the role myself, and would see once I'm in it. But you know, I know, having spoken to previous councillors and members of it, nobody has said that the burden is too much, and I don't think that is an issue that's driving people away. So, you know, 3 can be efficient, and sometimes you get more done with less than trying to get too many people on a committee, as a few candidates have mentioned as well. That can be a problem.
Excellent, thank you, Dan.
I agree with both Paul and Steve.
Excellent, thank you.
I also align with them. I would also like to add that if there is a lot of work on something, that's when you strike a committee to deal with that issue. And then you can let the committee go and have fun.
Excellent, Donna, we're going to keep you up there. The water level of the lake has become critical. Stantec Engineering and Pigeon Lake have initiated addressing their water levels. Do you think that we should research their results?
Isn't it Gull Lake that is doing a pump from the river with a sieve, basically, that doesn't allow the eggs of the Prussian carp, which is the problem, because we don't want it in our lake. And I believe council, since I've been watching the meetings, has said that they're going to wait and see what the results are for Gull Lake. And I do believe that there is a cost associated with pumping the water in terms of electricity.
Excellent. So we'll change this then to Gull Lake, sorry. We'll go now just through this because we started the question. Steve next. And the question is about, do you think that we should be researching their results?
This water level, they built a pumping station in 1986 to stabilize this lake. The Alberta government's already paid millions to put in a pumping station. They used it until the $500,000 rumor power bill caused them to stop using it. I work in the water industry with pumps, and there's improvements. There's soft starts, there's pumping at nights, there's ways that $500,000 bill could be dropped with 2024 technology instead of 1984 or 1986 technology. Places like Alex, the water goes through Alex. Mirror actually goes through Tail Creek. So there's other people there's the county of Camrose, there's the county of Lacombe, there's the other counties that are all concerned. They all have people on this lake too. And it's a recreation area, which is an important part of any community, is to have recreation. And I think it just needs we need the premier to move to Stettler to get us a push. And if Gull Lake, I believe they're pulling out of an aquifer, which we think is expensive, pulling from a river and pumping here. Now you're pumping from 100 feet down to fill a lake. So if there's a chance to get on a committee, I would definitely put my name forward and tell them about using newer technology. Let's have another look at it at least, instead of just putting our head in the sand saying it's $500,000 and we're not gonna do nothing. Like I say, they've already invested millions.
Excellent, thank you. Paul?
Certainly, I know we're all concerned with the level of the lake, and I know every time I come out this year, I've gone down to the shore hoping to see that the level's gone up, and kind of been disappointed to see it's still sitting the same or going down. That being said, I know some of the headwinds are real, the concerns about invasive species, the concerns about costs and reliability of the system. Hasn't ran for a long time. There probably would be a lot of restart costs on that. And at the same time, it's easy to see all the news about climate change and think this is permanent. It's going to be low forever. Talking to some of the old timers, it has been this low in the past. It's much lower than it's been in any of the time that I've been here, but in the history of this lake, it has gone through its cycles. Maybe there's a case for just a little bit of a wait and see if it does recover on its own as well. I know that it's a complicated issue, and I know that the environmental and cost issues are real on it. So it's a complex one. I think, like Steve said, participating in committees and making informed choices is a part of that.
Excellent, thank you, Dan.
Well, I think whoever's elected is going to be all pushing to get on this particular committee because it is an important issue. And I think we do need to pause and see what the results are in Gull Lake. You will have a better idea of the costs. We'll have a better idea. If they are pumping from an aquifer, I don't see that as an issue. But if they are pumping from the rivers, we need to have good research on it. I do believe that committee has looked at that, and they are continuing to monitor that and try to get the results of that. I don't know how long we have to wait. I mean, maybe nature will help us, or maybe it won't. But it is an important issue, but I think we need to keep on top of the research.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, we're getting to the end. I think we're going to work through our closes, unless there's any more questions that will be coming forward. Then why don't we work through our closes? We're going to start in opposite order. Mr. Zed.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for attending. First of all, I'd like to thank the Hall Society for hosting this event and getting all our bios up, and Tamara for doing a great job of monitoring it. You didn't have to stop any fist fights or anything, but and also for the attendees. It's great to see not only more candidates running for this position, but more the attendance and the interest and the questions. And but I thank you for that. I think you've got a pretty good idea of the candidates here. Those were some great questions, and thank you for the opportunity. Look forward to your vote.
Donna.
I would like to echo Dan's comments in that thank you all for coming. It's wonderful to see such great interest in our community and great interest in selecting somebody to fill the positions of councillor. Very important. And it's also been very interesting to sit a while with the other candidates and see that we actually do align on most issues, and some we don't really align on, but it'll lead to interesting conversations in the council chamber. I'm not only asking for your vote, but I will be asking for your presence on committees if I'm elected to help guide council. Because you, the community, smart community, deserve a voice, a loud voice. So please vote for Donna Marquardt as council member for the community and by the community.
Better start your timer. I got a long list here.
Of course I have enough
I think the community's going well. I think we should lean more on the Hall Society. They've done an excellent job. They brought in that Halloween thing. They have events here. The end of the season thing's gone well. There's some, you talk about quality people in the neighborhood, we've got them right there. And we can use them to find out if people are happy or unhappy. And I believe we should be ready for a grant. I don't think you just sit on your laurels and the government's just going to say, here. They give grants to the ones first at the table. So I figured we'd have a way of putting somebody in an account or get a grant to get a grant. I don't know. I believe the communication should be mended with the county for the boat launch. They actually helped do the boat launch, so I guess things can't be that terrible. But we also, when they do the dust control, it's through the county. They set up the trucks and White Sands pays the share of it. And get that road ban straightened away so it's just the same as it is for everybody else. And you got to remember that, from my understanding in the county, one of the biggest ratepayers is the lots on the lake between Roshan Sands and Bar W. The money they make on taxes there is over half of what the county of Stettler pulls in. A quarter section is only thousands of dollars for a quarter section. Those people are $1 million homes sitting there. So they're paying taxes. And like I say, fire protection, that's a big one for me. If the county or somebody has a push for it, I think we should be ready to jump on board with them. The golf carts, I believe in the stickers thing, and I believe that they should be insured so that can't sue the county. So if somebody in a golf cart hits a tree or hits a house, that their insurance company handles it. White Sands isn't involved. And the only good thing I can see with the expansion of the community is that we're going to get more tax dollars, which is a good thing, and it's inevitable. Like I say, this place is getting known. Roshan Sands, Bar W, start looking at those places like that. People don't want to live in towns anymore. They'd rather live a 20-minute drive away and live somewhere they can go fishing on a walk. Uh-oh.
You've been halted.
Thank you, Tamara, for an excellent job moderating, and Cheryl for policing us all, and the whole Hall Society for doing it. Really impressed to see such a strong turnout and lots of really excellent questions. I think, listening to everybody's response here, I think we can all feel optimistic that we've got some really, a really strong group of candidates here. Some tough decisions, I'm sure, for everybody in terms of this election. I think I'll just simply say that, if I'm among the two elected here, I would be very honored and humbly accept it and do my best to represent the interests of the community over the coming term. And I think I've said everything else through the evening, so I'll leave it at that.
Excellent, thank you. We're going to make this really fast. Thank you all so much. You did a wonderful job. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody for your attendance. And we're done.